Hi, I'm Warren, the author of Christopher Tyson, Mark of the Ancestor, and I'm here with Omzig Divlanagor.
Greetings, young humans. Small disclaimer. By sheer coincidence, I sound suspiciously similar to the author. Total coincidence, I assure you.
Yeah, strange coincidence that. But, anyway, for those who don't know, Christopher Tyson, Mark of the Ancestor, is the first in a planned series of books chronicling the adventures of Christopher Tyson and his friends. It starts with his discovery of a hidden underground base with his best friend Peter, and as the book progresses, they make new friends and end up flying to other worlds and having lots of fantastical adventures with spaceships and aliens.
It all sounds very exciting. So, tell us, how did you come to start writing the book in the first place?
Well, it all started a number of years ago. I'd been busily writing another novel, but it had become long and unwieldy, and it was getting nowhere fast. So I made the drastic decision to put it into limbo, basically, and start something new, something more fast-paced and fun that I could really get my teeth into. It wasn't the easiest decision to make, sort of considering that I'd already written over 100,000 words, but it was definitely the right decision.
Weren't you afraid you would end up in a similar situation with your new book?
Yep, I was. It's all too easy to start something fresh when you have a great idea. The problem is if you get into the habit of regularly just starting new, fresh things and never finishing. You need to sustain the effort. So it was definitely a big fear in the back of my mind that I would do the same thing again. But my lack of progress in the preceding years on the other book basically made the answer simple, but it was no less daunting because of it. The question is, how do you put such a large amount of work to one side and then start on something else from scratch?
Once you decided to write a new book, what gave you the inspiration for Christopher Tyson? Putting aside my influence, of course.
Sadly, a number of years ago, my mother passed away, but at her funeral, I reacquainted myself with an old friend. When I was about 11 or 12, my family moved to Scotland, but my friend and I maintained contact on the phone and through letters. There was no mobile phones or internet back then. So as we wrote letters back and forth, we also drew and wrote stories of our own adventures. We imagined sort of all sorts of exciting things with ourselves as the heroes, but mixed up with a total mishmash of our own favourite science fiction movies and books. Having been reminded of those stories, basically everything fell into place. My mother used to encourage me in writing and drawing those stories, as well as being the one who encouraged much of my fantasy and science fiction reading. So it seemed fitting that my literary fresh start, so to speak, should be born of that, and since most of those childhood adventures appealed to me at that age, obviously, my hope was that they would do the same for kids now and in the future.
Now that you had decided to move in this new direction, what was your first step?
Well, with your help, obviously, the structure of not only the first book, but a plan for 6 overall, and potentially another 6 after that, flowed out into a notebook with a massive scribbling over 2 or 3 days. Once I'd started that, I created a new universe of my own, but with that core essence of the childhood adventures that I'd written back then. Once I'd done that, I sort of took the ideas for book 1 and broke it down chapter by chapter, along with characters, creatures, and the worlds they inhabit. As I'm also an artistic person, I enjoyed the added benefit of illustrating a lot of my ideas, the aim being that I could then see things properly in my own mind's eye as I wrote, and those things in turn then became the art of book.
Now, after book 1, what does the future hold? I ask that question as if I don't already know, of course.
Like yourself, Omzig, I know what happens next, but everyone else will just have to wait and find out.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our discussion. If you would like to enjoy learning more about Christopher Tyson and his adventures, remember to like and subscribe for future updates.